This is an exciting one. This is so good. Today, we are really lucky. We have got CJ, who is the world-class sales, leadership, and experiential learning coach and facilitator who has helped international countries achieve quantum improvements in sales products in Asia, Pacific, and beyond. He is the author of Winning the B2B Sale in China, which is available on Amazon, and Sales Map, a scenario-based sales proficiency assessment. VSI very warmly welcomes CJ.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Fiona. And thank you, everybody, for having me. My name is CJ, as Fiona has introduced, and I'm based in Singapore. For a number of years, from 2004 to 2020, I was actually based in China. What some of the things that we do is we help international companies acclimatize to China and other parts of Asia. And at the same time, we also help companies from this part of the world to internationalize and to get out and be out there. Now, for today, what I'd like to do is to focus on generating resonance. And the reason I'm talking about resonance is not just for speakers. I'm sure that a lot of us who are in this association, in VSI or any other speakers associations, you may not be doing speaking all the time. A lot of us, while we do some keynotes, sometimes our bread and butter is training. And sometimes, and we do have this in APSS as well. I'm also a member in the Singapore Speakers Association, APSS. And we do have people who are in corporates that are exploring transiting to a speaker sometime in the future. So for today, it's, well, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a professional trainer, facilitator, and so on, or whether you are still working in corporate and you need to build resonance in your presentation to your bosses, this is for you. This is something that would like to make it relevant to as wide array of audiences as much as possible. We want to make sure that as long as you make a presentation to someone, how do you then inspire and generate resonance to that audience, whoever they are, whatever the occasion, whether you're speaking to 1,000 people, C-level, or are you just addressing your own kids? Doesn't really matter. We are looking at generating resonance. So, well, I'm going to skip this. This is too much of self-promotion. I'm going to go to this. So, now, if you need to conduct a keynote presentation or a workshop, whatever that is, what would be the critical step to build resonance with your audience? Now, we're going to have some interactivity today. So I would like you to think about this question, type it in the chat box, but don't press enter yet. Just type it in. You have 1 minute. If you need to conduct a keynote, a presentation, or a workshop, what would be the critical step to build resonance with your audience? Type it in the text chat box. Don't press enter yet. You got 10 more seconds. And please press enter. Research, ask questions. Wow. For any questions put you, yeah, definitely. Understand who they are, create personal connection. Preparation, wow. Make connections between your content and the local context. Fantastic. Know your staff, know their needs. You know what? Based on what we have the answers here, I think you guys can do the session. You have all the answers that I'm about to present. Now, before we go into the presentation itself, here's what I've done as a poll on LinkedIn about 2 weeks ago, and just to find out. And as you can see, it's the same question. If you need to conduct a keynote presentation or workshop, what will be the critical step to build resonance with the audience? And we got 4 choices. And I mean, the answer, the standard answer, of course, is all 4, right? But then again, you have to do all 4. But then again, which ones will have a higher priority? So what we've got is I'm going to shift my icon here. So what we've got is that finding out what are your audience's needs. It came out as the key thing, the number 1 criteria. What does your audience want? And not just what they want. What are the kinds of outcomes would they like to achieve? And not just only the outcomes they would like to achieve, but also why. Why is it important to them? What happens when they achieve those outcomes, and what happens if they don't? So some of it is about research. Some of us researching your audience, finding out what do they need. And the other thing, number 2, is give a powerful why. Now, why should you be paying attention in this keynote, in this presentation? Even if I'm presenting some Excel charts and figures to my boss or to my customers, what's in it for them? Why is the information that I'm presenting meaningful to them? What insights can they gain out of what I'm sharing? Right, so that's giving a powerful why, and of course, there are other ways like telling a story and be passionate about it, and so on and so forth. So let's look into what are some of the key things that you may want to consider in order to inspire and build resonance with your audience. Some of these pointers, it's through my experiences being a speaker and a facilitator. Some of which I've used ChatGPT to do some research, and I'm combining them all. Now, one of the key things in terms of my experiences, my first keynote was done when I don't even know what a keynote address was. I was 19 years old. And in Singapore, we have national service. That means we need to serve in the military for 2.5 years of our life. And within the military service, they'll like to do some things, some projects that are nothing to do with military, more or less. So one of the projects that I was involved in was a work improvement team project. And I was posted to logistics. Logistics is a nice name, or was a nice name for a bunch of truck drivers. So here I was in the midst of a bunch of truck drivers, and we as a team need to have a team of truck drivers to present to the senior officers, what is work improvement in truck driving or truck maintenance or something. So as you can imagine, none of the truck drivers are really eloquent. So and eventually I was a spokesperson for the group, and it got escalated to the head of our formation, the head of our forces, and eventually I was invited to give an address for the whole Ministry of Defense. And in my audience was the head of Navy, who later on became the Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore. So that was the context. And I remember my feet were shaking when I was presenting whatever I was presenting. I have no idea. I have no recollection exactly what I said, but the only thing I could remember was it was a dark room and my feet were shaking. I was 19. I gave a keynote without knowing what a keynote was. Right, so that was the thing. So based on that umpteen years of presentations, this is some of my experience sharing and some validation from ChatGPT. Just to be transparent and all that. So. The first thing, start with why. I'm sure some of us have read Simon Sinek, and it may sound like cliche. Now, in terms of did my knees shake that time you presented? Oh, your feet were shaking. Thank you, Olga. Yes, my feet was literally shaking. And the fortunate thing was I was behind a lectern. I was hiding behind a lectern, so no one could see my feet were shaking. Right, so that was that. Right, so anyway, so we start with why, and the kind of why it's not so it's about why is this important to the audience, but before that, why it makes sense to you, why does it resonate to you as well? It can be something you feel strongly about. It can be something that aligns a lot with the value. It can be something that you really resonated with the cause. You really find the message really important to you first. And then, of course, we're going to think about the audience. Why is it important to them? So it's about the purpose of that presentation. So a lot of times we tend to think about, oh, this is how you do the presentation, and this is what you need to present. But why are we doing all this? What's the meaning of it all? What's the purpose? How are we doing it? And what happens when the audience get the information, all the insights? What happens after that? What is it that you like the audience to do differently or think differently at the end of your session? So that's number one. It's about starting with why. For the audience, for yourself, what's the purpose of it all? Right? Number two, it's know your audience. And we talk about researching. We talk about really finding out more from the audience. Now, sometimes when we were given assignments to speak or to present or to do training or a workshop, we're given certain themes. We're given some facts or some factoids, some bullet points about what's the context of it all, and you're there to prepare your presentation or a workshop. But is that enough? So what I do is to try to come up with stories that resonate with the audience. So, and how do I come up with stories that resonate with the audience? I couldn't just, unless it's an industry or it's a company that I really know inside out, it's going to be really challenging for me to just pluck stories out of there and resonate with the audience. So what I usually do is to ask a client, and in fact we are going to do some negotiations workshop for a huge advertising agency at the end of October in China. And one of the key things that I ask client is, okay, so if you're talking about negotiations, tell me a bit more about what is the background of that negotiations with the customer. Is it an issue about the customer complaining you are so bloody expensive? Is it an issue about when's the delivery date for the customer? Is it a negotiation about the scope of work, the kinds of work, and so on? The negotiations can go to different directions. We could also want to find out, who do you usually negotiate? So if it's a sales type of negotiation, is there a purchasing person to negotiate with? Or do you need to negotiate with the key decision makers? What are some of the outcomes they would like to achieve in those negotiations? What are some of the things that are contentious for them? Right. So, and the list goes on and on. So I'd like to have an idea about the context of what the audience is going through. I need not to interview every single one of my participants. I may want to ask some managers of the participants. I may want to plug a few participants to find out what are some of the things that they go through. But eventually, what I intend to do is to come up with some short cases. So by short, it's about 3 to 4 sentences, 3 to 4 lines, depicting a scenario, right? And that scenario is something that the audience can resonate. That scenario is like, yeah, this is that customer. This is the case that has been torturing me for like the last 10 years. Right. So these are some of the things that the audience can really relate to. And more than that, in a workshop especially, we'd like to, there's always this thing about, we've done a workshop, we've done a keynote, we've done something, we've done an intervention, but what's the return on investment? How do we know that after paying X amount to you, that our people will apply what they learn and we gain like 10 times returns in return? We don't. And the thing is, the easiest way to make sure that the client has a return on investment is to make sure that the people can relate to the stories, the cases, and then find a better way to deal with those cases. And the moment they face similar cases, they will be able to apply them, because it is in a way a panacea. In a way, to that, it is a solution to some of the issues, some of the challenges that they face. And if it's going to help them overcome some sticky issues, some difficulties, some challenges, do their jobs better, chances are they will be motivated internally to try out some of the ideas. They will also be motivated, if the ideas didn't work, to complain about it, to add their grievances, and even though it's negative, but at the very least, it raises awareness. I tried something in the training. It didn't work. That's bloody bad training. And it's okay. Maybe someone else tried it and it worked. And at the very least, there is some discussion about it on whether it's a good idea after all, whether if someone made it work and some others did not work, what happened? Why did it work for someone else? Can we share those experiences? So these are some of the little things to think about in just 3 words: knowing your audience, not just know their personalities and know their communication styles. It's really know the context of the work that they're going through and create something that they can relate and they can actually implement whatever key insights that you deliver, right? So that's number 2, knowing your audience. Number 3, know your stuff, know your content, being an expert in your field. There are certain times that, yes, as speakers and facilitators, we do wing it. We don't really know this subject matter really well, and we somehow survive through it. Yes, it happens. I've did that if you really want to have that resonance with the audience, it really is knowing your content. It's really if it's something that is new to you, if it's something that you are not clear, do the research, do a background study, ask someone, get the details inside out. Same thing for ad agency. I've never worked in an ad agency before. I don't know what are the kinds of services, how they package the deals, what's in the contract, what are some of the things they negotiate. I've got to do research, whether it's by knowing the audience or by asking friends who are in ad agencies and find out what are some of the things that they go through. And if you're presenting something that's technical, then know the product, know the technical details inside out. You may not want to go really deep dive into those technical details, but at the very least, you know what's going on. Because at the end of the day, at the end of a presentation, someone's going to ask questions. Someone's going to ask, hey, if I do this, and this, what's going to happen? If I do it differently, will it also work? So you need to be able to understand where the question's coming from, what are the key things, and how are you going to give a succinct, concise answer that you can answer or provide a solution for the audience. So it's about knowing your content, knowing the stuff that you're talking about. If you don't, do more work before you go on stage. So number 4, it's choosing the right style. Now, in my LinkedIn poll, I say, present with passion. And the thing is, not everyone is that extroverted. Not everyone will like to make an impassioned plea in their presentation. Not everyone will like to dance around on stage. Some people are more quieter, more introverted, more thoughtful, more deliberative. And no, you don't have to be someone totally different from who you are. So choose the right style that fits you. Right, and I'm sure that within our VSAI community, there are ask the organizers if there are any human disabilities in your audience, as you're a fully inclusive speaker. Fantastic, yeah. I mean, could that be people who need sign language or other issues? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ruth. Right, and what I'm saying is, even for your style, it's really understand what styles work for you. Some of us are really flashy and really you're at a spotlight, you're at the center of attention everywhere you go. Some of us would like to share a certain insight, and it takes some slow, deliberative communication to describe the whole situation and to provide a step-by-step answer to the whole issue. So it's your personal style. The other part about style is, what is the occasion? For all you know, there are some speakers who are really humorous. They make people laugh their heads off. But, and just figuratively, but if you are asking this particular speaker to give a speech in a funeral, someone died, someone important died, and you're supposed to give a speech, you don't want to be that humorous. You don't want to be that active as well. So it really is, what is the style? Is this something that you want people to be motivated, pumped up, and just go out there and do something? Is this something that you want people to have to allay their fears, to put aside some concerns and be confident and be brave to try on something? Is this something that we want people to feel inclusive, that it's safe, that if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay to share your concerns and thoughts, and you want to have a kind of a more caring kind of ambiance in there? So it really depends on that occasion. The style, there's no one style that fits all occasions. You may want to adjust it accordingly, depending on the content and the purpose of the presentation or speeches. Right. Number 5, it's about getting feedback. And these days, feedback is easy. Now, there are 2 kinds of feedback. The first kind of feedback is more important than the second kind. The first kind of feedback is you get your feedback before the real show. Before you make the actual presentation, you want to have that feedback first. And for all you may know, you may have a bright idea, but you really don't know if it's going to land on your audience, or you may have some ways to present to get a point across, and you're not too sure as in, should I use method A or method B? So these are the times that you can get feedback. You can get feedback from a test audience. So get your friends, do the presentation, tell me more. I mean, what do you think? You can get feedback like what you're doing now. I mean, record yourself, play back, look at yourself. Does it sound okay? Or you can combine 2, record yourself, send it to your friends. What do you think? No, because it's sometimes it's not that easy, convenient to get people to come together at a certain point in time. So it's not ideal, but then again, you can record yourself and ask a few more people, get that feedback, especially on a certain topic or a certain key points that you are not quite sure. Get their input, not just ask them how do they feel, but also what suggestions. Now, this is the scenario. What kinds of suggestions would you have or would you make to make it even better? So these are some of the things that we do. And again, back on VSAI, we are a community of speakers. Some of us are fantastically successful. Some of us are still making our first steps into the speaking world. Doesn't really matter. Every one of us has got this passion to make speeches, right? Every one of us would like to build a profession out of speaking. So it's something that we have a certain kind of a professional or domain knowledge about. use our WhatsApp group, use the resources we have in VSAI and say, hey, I'm going to do a speech or presentation. I'm going to say this in front of my boss. How do you think? Can I just share that video with you and just send me your thoughts and what suggestions you have to make it better? Another thing is, you don't have to take in all suggestions. If it makes sense to you, use it. If in your context it's a nice suggestion, but it's not going to work due to some other reasons, no worries. You just need to take the ones that you feel is going to work. All right, so you don't have to take in everything. And of course, the second kind of feedback is at the end of your presentation, you get the feedback from the audience, how they think about it, what are some of the feedback or evaluation that you can have. Sure, those are the kind of feedback that helps you do better the next time. And the keyword here is the next time, right? So it's a feedback of something that has been done and dusted. So while it's good to have those feedbacks so that you can be better, it makes sense to have feedback before the real stuff, right? So and that's probably the reason why we joined VSAI in the first place. Get the feedback from like-minded people who are going to help you with the presentation or speech. And number 6, finally, it's really about being authentic, be yourself. I like to say be authentic, but then again, it's too big a word, and it's as if if you are not authentic, you are really lying to the audience, and it's not that way. It's really be yourself. Whether this is the way you talk, this is the way you present, this is the way you like to show things, and even as you can see in my deck today. Of course, I did not use AI for my presentation deck. I am not really proficient in making wonderful PowerPoint decks. Some of us are a much better expert in this area. So I'm just being myself to have it plain, simple, minimalist design, because that's the way that I'm familiar with, and that's the way I can resonate with my audience. So just be yourself. Yes, definitely, there will be some things that we can improve upon to give better presentations, to give better speeches, and so on. But at the same time, there are certain things that, yeah, it will be better, but then again, it may not be me. So what's you, and what is the part of you that you want to present in front of your audience? Some of us may relate this to personal branding. So what is it that you would like your audience and related people and stakeholders to have that impression of you? And that's about you want to be yourself with in the message you drive. And the thing is this. If you are presenting something and you try to be someone other than yourself, even though it may be very polished, even though it's got all the right takes at the right places, but if the audience feel that, hey, it's a good message and I kind of like the message, but I somehow don't feel that it is not you who is presenting that message. And that may have some losses in resonance for the audience, right? So on the one thing, yes, we'll like to up our game and be the best speaker that we ever can be. But at the same time, what is your style? What is you? What are some of the things that make you and amplified? There could be certain things like that you don't want to do at all because it is detrimental. Right. On the extreme cases, things like what Olga mentioned about digging noses and bad habits. Yeah. So certain things definitely are a no-no, and it may be part of you, but probably it's a part of you that you don't want to show publicly. So be you, be your best foot, but it's something that is truly you, and be yourself in front of the audience. So I've got a paper on LinkedIn and as an article. So it's a link at the bottom. You can, I don't know if you can click on screen and you can check on the full LinkedIn post there. I can share the deck later on with Olga, or even I can share it in the WhatsApp group, and we can have the entire deck, and you can download everything that we have on over here. What I would like to know is, this is a very short presentation, but the key thing is, what are your takeaways today? So poll number 2 today, write down, type in the chat box. What are some of the key takeaways today? Again, don't press enter yet. Thank you, Fiona. You're very quick. Don't press enter yet. Give yourself around 30 seconds. Thank you, Olga, for the link to the article. 10 more seconds. What are some of the key takeaways today? And please press enter. Wow, finding out the context. Yeah, feedback before the session. Why? Your audience. Be yourself unapologetically. Yeah, great. Yeah, connect before presenting. Fantastic. Great stuff, and I'm glad you learned something, and it's hopefully it's something that's applicable to your journey as a speaker, facilitator, or in-house presenter to your bosses. And of course, I have here my LinkedIn QR code. You can scan on it, and of course, in the WhatsApp group, we'll be in touch as well. So thank you so much, and I'm open for further Q&As.
Thank you so much, CJ. This was amazing, and I love the takeaways here in the chat. We will also go into breakout room 1 to share takeaways with each other, as well as we'll go to breakout room afterwards for a general chat. So thank you so much, CJ. What I would like to do, just to go back to the gallery view, and actually I will take a screenshot of all of you giving a massive, frantic, fabulous VSI applause to CJ. So I'd like to go back to CJ and see if there are any questions you would like to ask CJ. And what I know that Dr. Mo, he had one question because he was desperate to ask it as long as everybody is back. So Dr. Mo, would you like to ask a question, CJ? And anybody else, if you'd like to ask a question, raise your digital hand.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. So CJ, first of all, thank you very much for this insightful speech. I get the order of the things that we're supposed to do in order, the steps. So my question is actually about the order. It's about, we start by knowing your why, and then you know your audience, and then know your content, these kind of things. So my question is, can I flip the order? Let's say I don't know my why. Can I just go empathize with people, talk to them, talk to the audience, discover who's my audience anyhow? Then I will know why I should, what's inside of me that can serve them, and then I will discover my why. Or
Absolutely. It's like I just had this workshop done for a clothing company, right? And it's the salespeople, the sales workshop, but they got something very specific. They want to train the salespeople in MEDDIC, MEDDIC. So it's MEDDIC. I wouldn't go into details what MEDDIC is. It's an acronym of sorts, but it's very popular with IT companies. So IT companies, when it comes to sales methodologies, they love to use the acronym MEDDIC. But it's a clothing company. It's like, why? Why are you doing this? So I couldn't find why myself. I know the topic, but I don't know why they want it. I have to do some checks with the customer, and it turns out that the reason they wanted MEDDIC is because their boss, that COO, read MEDDIC from some maybe Harvard Business Review or somewhere, and fell in love with it, and felt strongly that everyone on the sales team needs to be schooled and trained in this thing called MEDDIC, right? So that's his prerogative, and then I did my research with the real salespeople, and what they came back is, I've never heard about MEDDIC, so I don't even know why I want it, because I don't know that thing in the first place. But what I want out of the workshop is how can I sell better? How can I handle tough customers? How do I deal with price comparisons? So it's all those kind of things. And then I got my aha moment. The why has got two levels. On the one hand, I need to include Medic because it's a COO that's going to pay for the training for the workshop. So he's got to be happy. So I got to say something on it. But at the same time, I got to be aware of where my audience is and where they're coming from. So I don't want to spend too much on Medic because that's not what they want. I need to also take care of their needs and address those key points that they are looking for.
Okay, that's really interesting because after you look after them, then you came to know why you should do this one for them. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Fast